We most definitely have arrived at the Legacy Museum.
From
For sure,
enslavement
for
to mass
sure.
incarceration. No, this is gonna keep fire.
It's actually crazy.
Dun 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 dun.
So, reflecting back on Site 1, I just want to hear your guys' thoughts and how you guys feel about this site. Before we go on to Site 2,
Okay.
the Legacy Museum.
All right. So one, we weren't able to take pictures, but everything that we've seen is forever engraved in our heads now. It was very touching. So yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, it was kind of sad that we weren't allowed to take pictures, but it was really
Is he
nice.
holding the mic? We have a
I think
microphone.
one of the saddest parts to me was when they showed a picture of a slave's back and it was all scarred because of how much they whipped him. That was really sad.
They were painted as lazy and inhumane.
Oh yeah, being lazy. That was another thing.
The movie theaters, I think they were really put together piece of art to show how the effects of slavery are still affecting people today. And I just think that they were very well put together with the sections in the different movies.
Yeah.
I also liked when we went to the cells. There were cells, and there were
There were holographs.
speaking and hearing their stories. It was very touching, and there was a part where you could see children even in the cells asking where their mothers are, and that was heartbreaking, knowing that African Americans were separated from their families due to segregation.
Especially ones that were that look younger than us.
Yeah.
So seeing kids that were younger than us in those positions and having to experience that at such a young age was just it was
Heartbreaking.
yeah.
And another thing that got me was seeing how elders, even our elders, were in the civil rights movements and just trying to protest and fight back for our people. Seeing them get dragged and all that by white men was heartbreaking. They shouldn't have endured any of it.
I seen one where someone got lynched for trying to vote.
Yeah.
And they put them on postcard that they lynched him.
Yeah.
It's like a factor.
And they had photos of the guys who actually did it.
That is insane.
I'd say my reflection from the experience as a whole was I was just happy to see that we're finally talking about the switch from slavery to incarceration, because that's a big issue that I kind of, research a lot and I'm passionate about. So I feel like it was really cool that we had a museum to show from the beginning to not the end, but what about you?
So my reflection, I'd say, after learning, I'd say all the stuff that we had experienced, read, everything, saw yesterday, just taking it in and, how, seeing how I can take that and use it and apply it, in my everyday life. Because I feel like there's a lot of stuff that go on nowadays that we still encounter, and after learning about that, I just want to stand up for myself more and, be comfortable and speaking up with issues that I see and being more outspoken about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because I would say I'm pretty outspoken already,
Right.
but I just think that it was very much a motivator for me,
Right.
because I've seen the way that my ancestors were treated by government officials, by everybody, by just regular civilians on the street, were dealt with for looking at somebody the wrong way. I just
Right.
don't. It really moved me, and it pushed me to kind of look from a different lens.
Right, and stand up for myself more when I encounter certain things, because sometimes I don't feel a need to stand up for myself.
Right.
But after that, stuff that they endured, to speak up for myself, to speak for them too. So
Yeah, absolutely. I'd say, so one piece that really stuck with me is the cotton of America. And basically, I don't know if you saw it, but it was the United States shaped as cotton. And then on the east side of the U.S., the transatlantic slave trade, it was a lot of blood on that side, but there was blood all over the cotton, but especially on the East Coast, because that's where we came in. And then it spread up more, and I thought that was really a really cool visual and representation of how, blood was spilled and, what we did, how we really impacted America, and we still are today.
for me, I'd say that one section where there was like like a prison, when they were locked up, and it was like I don't know what it was, like a figure. Yeah. And this one lady who was singing, she was saying like a gospel song, and it really touched my heart because even after everything that they went through, they still had their faith, and they still pushed through, and it motivated me a lot because like everything I just couldn't. I don't know how they even pushed through it, but knowing that they had God and stuff, like it just really touched me, and I was just I don't know, because they endured so many things. Um, I don't know. I just really loved and it motivated me.
My name is Zakia Tamio. I'm the vice president of BSU at Rogers. And one of the main things that got me was, well, first of all, I'm thankful that we experienced this. A lot of the stuff that we were exposed to today and like over the weekend, it wasn't like anything that we learned at school. Like we learned some stuff about it, but like being able to see like it just like the raw authenticity of it was very inspiring and like it was very touching.
My name is Malachi Ford, and first I would just like to thank everyone who gave us this amazing opportunity to come learn down here. I think it's very important for young people of color to do this because we're putting a physical aspect into learning about our culture, and I think it's very important for us to do that. One thing that was very important to me was the fact that everything in those museums connected back to something that is still happening today, where we could see it and like interpret it into like our personal lives. I feel like the museums were a very beautiful piece of art that really connected the past to the future and how the effects of American history are still affecting people of color today and how we can even continue to fix that.
My name is Deontay Bedford, and I really like this whole thing because like the little that we do learn in school, whatever we do learn about, like you can't. It's you don't like when you come here and you see everything like right in front of you. You can like touch some stuff and like just get right up in it. Like that's something you just can't really explain like in words and teach kids. Like you gotta see that, and that's big.
And something that really resonated with me was the slavery to incarceration and the transfer between the two. I think that I know that it resonates a lot with me because I have a lot of family members who have been incarcerated for things like this, wrongly accused, convicted. So it really like inspired me to like think more into it because I want to go into law. So going to Brian Stevenson's museum, it was like it was really motivational because he does all these things and he stays so humble, and I really appreciated that.
I wanted to highlight. I think my thing that I took away, from this whole experience was that they didn't sugarcoat anything, and it really made me realize all the harsh treatment and everything that they went through. One thing that stuck to me that I didn't realize was that when they would be locked up and stuff, that they would the deputies didn't really protect them, and the white mobs were able to get them and then go ahead and lynch them, which I didn't realize that there was no protection in any aspect of it. So it really opened my eyes into every perspective of what they had went through, and so that opened my eyes to the whole experience.
It was a funeral or something. I forgot what it was called, but it was three people. It was a dad in the middle and then two young children by his side, and they all had flowers in their on their person someplace. And we sat there and we were analyzing it for a while, and we realized like the mom was probably killed or died somehow, and the daughter was wearing her shoes, and it was just very emotional, and I felt like I was like in it. I was like with them, you know what I mean? So I feel like, yeah, the physical part of like seeing your history is important.
Yeah.
Yeah, they used art as a way to just like of importance. It was very it spoke out to us, and then I feel like that's something you really can't teach in a classroom. So
And when I went in, I wasn't like expecting it to really touch me because I just seen like families getting ripped away from each other, children getting sold off, and like fathers getting sold off and having to walk like miles and miles and miles. Like it's just over, like exaggerating it so bad. And it just like I teared up a few times because it's like we still endure that. Like shoot, like Jatem was talking about, like our families have been taken away from us and ripped away from us for things that they haven't done, or like, you know, minor things that shouldn't. They're just getting treated wrong, and it's yeah, no, it like hurts to see that we just keep getting our families ripped apart over and over and over again. Yeah.
My name's Isaiah Clay, and the thing that resonated with me the most was when we got to search up our names in the database and see all the former slaves who either was in our area or just was who was in the United States. And my name, when I searched up my name, there was multiple. There was like 6,000 something, and it's crazy because you like when you think about it, some of these people could either be related to you in some way or could have known someone who was related to you. So that was just crazy to me.
Uh, it was fascinating because I live with a white family, and I've been adopted by a white family, and it's just seeing how all of you guys can be so passionate about this, and even though I learned some of this, all my teachers were also white, so I was like, I didn't know as much as how hurt and how bad it will feel, even though because I was always in a white neighborhood all my life.
My name's Aaliyah McClendon, and I think something that really stood out to me was the fact that, like, when you're talking about it in school or just in general, it doesn't even do it justice on, like, what actually happened. I think the museums that we went to really just explained it so well, but I still feel like it doesn't even do it any justice. I think it's really sad that people were going through this at one point in time and, like, I don't know, just people were being treated so inhumane. It's honestly disgusting, and it's really, really sad to see, but I think that it's important that we all, like, people, young Black people can come and learn about this stuff because it's important to just know, like, more about your culture and just learn about, what we went through. So.
Hi, I'm Miriam, and honestly, I'm honored that I got to go on this trip. I think it was very educational, and half of the stuff I actually learned a lot because half of the stuff that I seen in the museum, like I didn't know about, like how many people were enslaved and the lynching and all that. Because in school we don't really touch on it like that, and I think this trip was necessary for us to experience. And
Touching on what Miriam said, I believe that this experience was definitely necessary, especially in the times that we're in right now. Our history is currently and in our faces being washed away and forgotten about. But as students, I think it was really important for us to not forget about our history because in order to move forward, we got to know where we've been. And I felt really inspired by this trip. And again, I'm also very grateful as well.
I also want to say, again, thank you for the opportunity and all, because when me and Miriam were analyzing all the countries from West Africa and what we had seen, I had like felt a deeper connection within myself and how just how moving it was, and I felt really engaged and connected with the whole experience. So that really moved me.
I also think it's crazy that we're just now like learning about like the stuff that actually happened at the age of 18. And I feel like this information should have been taught to us like a long time ago. And we should not just now be learning about the stuff that actually happened.
Touching on the importance of learning about this and having this space, especially in Spokane public schools, I believe it's very important because some of the things that I saw on the wall, they were things that not that we go through, but it was very much like like not the same, but it had the same undertones. And I feel like us knowing the history of that allows us to, be conscious and realize like how we move throughout the world and use that as a motivator. Yeah.
I feel it's very important because I know coming from a different state, I'm from California, so it's common to see like a lot of Black kids, and then moving to Spokane, Washington, I didn't see very much, so I always felt like an outsider, and I felt like I had to fit into certain norms of where I just moved. So I feel like it's important to have that safe space to see more people who look like you and who go through the same struggles as you. So.
It's a good safe place, and if you're from a family with like low income or maybe just busy schedule, don't really have time to go do stuff like this, it's really important because they pay for everything, everything's all paid for. Then you're not going with your family, so they don't have to make time for you, everything else. So it's great, great space to be in.
I feel like coming here helped us realize a little more of our identities, from our ancestors and like knowing who we're descendants from. And I feel like what they went through and like being able to come here together, we're able to come together as a community. And I've always noticed that like people of color come together as a community more and more, like when we endure these things and endure all the hate and abuse. And it just makes us stronger, honestly, that when we come together. So I feel like us being able to come here together and like experience this was really good. And if this was taken away from us or like we weren't able to do this, then I feel like I wouldn't have known a little more of my identity. And I'm thankful I got to know more about me and our people of color.
Living in Spokane, a predominantly white space, in a lot of spaces that we find ourselves in, I think it's important to have spaces where you can see people who look at like you, see people who go through the same things you do, and like came from like places that you've experienced. I think it's important because it allows you to be comfortable in your own skin. You don't have to change for nobody. It's important because if this is taken away, then we have to basically abide by the community rules and not be ourselves when no one should really have to do that. Here, we walk down the street, we see people who look like us, talk like us, everything like that, and it's just important because it allows you to be comfortable with yourself and not have to change how you move for anybody.
I'm touching on the erasing the history part. Erasing Black history is erasing American history, and the fact that this isn't talked about at school to its fullest intent is frankly disgusting because, like I said before, you can't move forward and be a better country without acknowledging and addressing the past, because as much as people want to say, oh, you've had your reparations, no, people are still struggling from what happened centuries ago. Like, people are still emotionally, financially, like, it's a real thing, and I think it's really important.
I'm Courtney. I feel like experiencing it in person is way different than just hearing about it because you're actually somewhere in a place where it actually took place. And I just feel like everybody should experience this at least once, especially if you're Black, because this is was a really impactful trip. And
So I read the book Just Mercy, and I did like feel it deeply, but going to the actual museum was like a whole nother experience. So I say if you read the book Just Mercy, if you have the money and the time, I think it'll be like a whole different experience if you actually come and visit the museum.
I would definitely tell them that you can't beat the experience when you walk into the museum. You can feel like walking through that museum. I could feel like the the power of everything in the museum and how they interpreted it or showed it through like the different things they had, like just like the water, and it was talking about how those are mass graves, and you just can't like you can see it and you can feel it, and walking through that you can like you can really feel the importance of the museum. And like Miriam was saying, like sitting down with those incarcerated people, they made it feel like so real. Like you can sit down in a seat and then pick up a phone and hear these people's stories, and you can't really like you can't help them through it. And I think it's different seeing it through a TV screen or seeing it through some words. Like seeing those people's faces and they're just expressing themselves to you, their pain, their hurt. It's just very important, and I just don't think you can beat that with a movie or a book.
Yeah, I also agree with Malachi. I think that you can't like teach an experience that you've had over something that you went like to go see, cuz there was a lot of power, and I think you can't just see that over a picture or over a movie. Like, yeah, you can see the importance of it, but you're not going to see the power. And I think that not even just the museums, but like the people here, like you can't it's just you're not going to see that on the West Coast or somewhere in Washington. It's a lot different. People can tell that you're not from here, and it's just an experience that I think everybody should be able to have.
I did listen to a couple of the incarcerations in the with the phone. Uh, it was a man who got imprisoned, and he at the age of 12, and he literally said when he turned like 17 or 18, he got put in like a sand uh like those insane asylums, even though he didn't do anything wrong, and he got no parole. And then and he was very polite about it. And every time, and when you saw it end, he says, "Thank you for listening to my story." Not like anger or any hatred out of it. It's just pure thankfulness that at least someone listened to him, because no one really listens.
I just want to touch on kind of what Jesse said earlier. He was talking about like us living in Spokane. Some of us grew up and were born and raised in Spokane. And like Malachi was saying, it is very much a predominantly white dominated area. So I want to touch on the question. It was, why do you think it's important to actually come to the scene? And my answer to that is because, like Aaliyah also touched on it, it's because it's a different perspective that we have in what we get at the museum. She talked about the people that were, from Alabama. It's about the culture. I feel like you have to come experience it firsthand to really understand it. And I feel like we got a good chance to do that. Like, we talked to a lot of people, we had some food, we met a lot of people, and I feel like that's really important. Yeah.
I do want to say I feel like even from the moment we walked in, it just told the whole story from start to finish, starting with the transatlantic slave trade, and even through the Reconstructive era to the how they were talking about the incarcerations too. I feel like even with the sculptures and everything so detailed and everything was so emotional, you were very like really able to heartfelt, and it was very an amazing experience. All the videos and visuals that they had going more in depth into what these people had experienced was just gave a really good understanding and helped me really fully grasp what they had went through. So that was very helpful, and I feel like with that it was very important for you to go and experience that firsthand. Man, I feel there was a lot of things that I seen. I think the sculptures really stuck and resonated with me because the amount of emotion that they had on their faces, and even again, like I'm African, and I see that these people have the same cheekbones and same features that I share, and it was very touching and felt on a different level. And they had also shackles around and even things around their necks. It was very sad to see, but something to take away and think on for sure.
Yeah, I'll say what piece really moved me the most. From all the exhibits that we went to, obviously I loved the sculptures. Like Jackie said, they were very in-depth and they showed a lot of emotion and a lot of creativity, so I appreciated that. But my favorite art piece was a United States, but it was made up of cotton. And I felt like that was very representative of how Black people built the United States, and we still continue to do so today. And also on it, on the east side of the United States, that's where the transatlantic slave trade people were coming in. So it had the most blood red. And then, the domestic slave trade, they started moving up towards north, and the blood spreads up towards north. And I also think that's very representative of the blood that was spilled. Yeah. And also, sorry, this is kind of off topic, but I just want to say this again. Like, I feel like all the stuff that we learned, I feel like with the emotions Jackie was talking about, I kind of felt angry because I felt like this was kept from us in a way. Like, we shouldn't have to, go out and learn it. It should be taught in history class because, like I said before, Black history is American history. And so it was, like Jackie said, it was a lot of emotions, but I'm very grateful that I was able to be put in this situation, as uncomfortable as it was. It taught me a lot. Yeah.
When we went to the sculpture park, we got to see a sculpture of a modern day young Black man, but he was on a black horse, but he dressed exactly like how I dress and how he like the hairstyles that people my age wear, but he was like laying on the horse and he was like basically dead, and it just like that just like touched my heart because he looks like me. It's not like how he would look in like Reconstruction or in slavery, but he looks like exactly like me. But and the living quarters that slaves would live in, we walked inside of them and we got to like watch videos inside of them, and like they were not like good conditions. Their wood was like rotten, and there were like holes inside of them, and there was cardboard paper like to like block the cold from the holes in the walls. So that was just crazy to see.
It brings up a wave of like all these different emotions of sadness, anger, and just like, you're confused on like why. Like, you're not really confused, but you're like, why are they trying to take this away from us when they've already taken so much things away from us for history? And it's like, you just get overwhelmed with the emotions, and it's overwhelming. It just feels like a big wave of hate.
If you close down these museums, honestly, I think you're just erasing history and just not giving people the learning opportunity they should have to learn about this stuff, which they obviously do not teach us at school. And I just think it's just racist, honestly.
I also feel like it's a great learning experience for not just people of color, but white people. Like I seen some white people there, and like when they were reading and like looking at the things that were in the museums, like they were shaking their heads, like some of them even started tearing up. And I feel like it's very important for them to see, like, yeah, that is painful. Like, yeah, that's what our people went through, and them like showing some emotion inside of these museums just shows like it needs to be opened up to more people, and it does teach people. I feel like it taught more than just us people of color. It also taught some of the white people.
And not even in my opinion, it's just deplorable that that would even be brought up in conversation, to take that down or to target any museums like that. I went to the DC trip. I had the privilege of going to the DC trip last year as a junior, and we saw the African American Museum. That was the best museum I've ever visited in my life. I've been to over 15 museums. And the fact that it's being targeted is honestly like another stab in the back. It's like kicking a dead horse, because we already have to come up and get our history out there by ourselves without the help of anybody. And so the fact that they're trying to take the work that we've spent decades working on is really disgusting. And I just I really hope that somebody gets on that, because I don't know. I feel like it's not going to be good for anybody. That's what
I feel like also with removing these museums is silencing our ancestors and what they had went through, and also it ties into a lot of systems and things that we still today go through. So erasing that would like it wouldn't it wouldn't it's just it can't.
Yeah, it would cause so much harm. And I just want to say, like, not even just for people of color. Like, obviously, that's going to be the biggest, push. But I think that it causes harm in the fact that these museums help people who aren't black learn what it was like being black during that time, and even what it's like being black today. I feel like that's really a disservice to the American people, and I hope it doesn't pass.
Yes.
I think a really important part is using our voices, being proud to say what we've experienced, because since we are grateful enough to experience this, we can't like be silenced by what is going on around the world. You have to speak out for like we have to speak out, because if anything, not for us, but for the people who did everything to build us up to where we are now, and for us to build up for our younger generations. I just think that's important.
I know I took a lot of photos of a lot of stuff that we've seen, so I'm definitely gonna share those photos with a lot of people and show a lot of kids at our school that it's okay to be who you are, and it's okay to like be grateful and like uphold people who look like you and who have been through struggles. So that's what I'm gonna do.
I want to say something that I want to do to bring this back to Spokane is I write a lot for the Black Lens, so hopefully I can do an article on it. Also, I think the easiest way to just spread the information is to just talk to people and tell them how it was. Like, tell them what you experienced, how it made you feel, show them pictures, like, encourage them to take their own trip down here, because, like we all said, this is very impactful for all of us, and I feel like it would be impactful for anybody to see. So just continuing to speak about it, even though, you might get retaliation or hate, that's what our ancestors did, and we have the same genes. We can do the same thing. Something that I really resonated with me personally was the works of art, like the poetry, like we kind of talked about it, but I do poetry now, and it was really inspiring to see, my ancestors do the same thing. There was a quote by Nina Simone that I'll say before I pass the mic, but it was, "If your art doesn't reflect the time you're in, is it art?" And I feel like that's really powerful. So.
And I feel like the continuation of using that word is contributing to what they went through, even though unfortunately they're not here anymore. It's kind of like, not to be like funny, but it's kind of like spitting on their grave. It's kind of like,
Yeah.
so to correct that behavior, I feel like we just have to be strong-minded individuals and strong with ourselves, and just stand up for what we believe in. We got to experience this and we know the power of it. We just have to spread that power of it, and like not be ashamed to stand up for something that's become so normalized within the school system.
Yeah, going to fairs to a predominantly white institution, because there's been so many incidents that now I get tired and don't even have the energy to even correct people or even just hold my tongue. But with that, like, it gives me motivation to then educate them and show them, like, because I don't, they know what they're doing, but I don't think they understand what kind of effect and that has on us. And now I feel inspired and motivated to then back up my ancestors who went through this, and us that go through this at school every day, and stand up for ourselves. So
The N word was something that a lot of Black people heard right before they died, whether they were lynched or whether they were, whatever. But like Jackie said, we do go to fairs, so we hear it often. In a way that I correct people is, I try to calm myself down, because it's triggering for me when I hear non-Black, especially non-Black people say it. Like Jackie said, though, I think that it's important to kind of, stand your ground and, explain to them why it's so, it's just not an appropriate word for us to be using. Like,
After walking through the museum and seeing the signs that said no N words allowed and so on, after seeing that those signs are real, we've learned about it, we've heard about it all growing up, but seeing it in our face, it makes me feel guilty. It makes me feel kind of dirty when I say it. So the N word is in most of our everyday vocabulary, but after this experience, I feel guilty saying it. I don't want to say it anymore. I've said it twice, and even after that, it hurts my heart, and because I know that my ancestors had went through that and they paved the way for us, and we're walking here freely. But it's just that's disrespecting them, and like Jatem said, that was the last thing that they heard, and it's a no. So I feel like when I get back home, I'm gonna come together as a community with everybody, and we're gonna for sure make an end to this, because not everybody knows exactly what it is, but I feel like if we come together as a community, we could stop it.
this is something that we hear every day. It's like I'm hearing my people, but I'm not seeing my people kind of moment. And we've addressed this with administration. I don't even know how many times. Somebody asked, do you think that they feel, understand the weight that word has, the administration? I don't think that they do, and I honestly don't think that they're putting any steps to try to understand that, which is a big problem to me. Another thing I could say is, for the policy part of that, I think it just needs to be school is a place where we come to learn. It's not a place where we come to, use, profanity. Like, we shouldn't be doing that. I feel like it should be a no exception policy. Like, it makes a lot of people uncomfortable. It triggers a lot of people. Like, when I say trigger, it means people trigger emotions. Some people get mad. Some people get sad and cannot continue with their school day, which is what we're supposed to do. That's what school is designed for. But, here we are fighting,
yeah,
racism,
yeah,
and
it's a lot.
it is a lot.
With the again with we've had a lot of conversations with our administration, and I can say that the effort that they put in isn't as much as it should, like they should be, especially how much that word carries. And now going back to school, I feel like it's mandatory that we have a set discipline and stick with it, because I feel like they sometimes make promises and things that they reassure us in a way that they're gonna take care of something, but kind of let it go as the days go forward. But I feel like we need to keep bringing it up and keep finding solutions to like find a like discipline, because this is at fairs, like it's a lot. Like I don't know, the environment too has a weight on me, and it makes me not, and like the air, it just makes me not want to go to school. So right. I feel like, and that's not just me, it's a lot of other students too, and that's unfair to us when we go to school to learn and get an education. But it's something that we need to deal with, talk about and deal with, because it's been going on right. all 4 years. So
It's actually getting out of hand. Like
Yeah.
I hear it, I'm being so serious. I feel like I hear it like every time I enter the hallway.
hmm
That's a problem.
and nothing gets done. So when we get back, I'm for sure gonna bring it up, and we need to make something a stable policy.
Right. And
So we
I just
can-
feel like there needs to be a clear set understanding around the school. I don't know why, we haven't, they tiptoe around it, and that's the reason why we haven't, did policy. But yeah, we need to stop doing that. Yeah.
Having somebody like me on your trip and feeling the things you felt and seeing, how does that make you feel about me? I mean, do you feel resentment when you see somebody like, the people of Caucasian descent and all? And then also the second question would be, uh, how can we do better?
So, for your first question, I say that I feel like education is power. So, the more people that come here to get educated about the wrongs, the more we can like push to like make some of this right. And I feel like walking through those museums, seeing people of all colors trying to learn and become educated on everything about the Legacy Museum. I feel like that's very powerful. I love that these spaces are open to everybody. And then for your second question, I just feel like spaces that aren't as accessible for people of color that you find yourselves in, just feel free to advocate for some of us in spaces we can't get into.
I had no resentment at all. I feel like I encourage you guys to come. For people who weren't affected by these things that we had experienced. I feel like it's needed for you guys to be educated and see the perspective that a lot of our ancestors had to live through. So yeah, I think that's what.
When I went into the museum, the initial feeling was that it was so personal, I know, for many of you, and I felt like I was in your space and your legacy. And I didn't have to go very far before I began to feel like, oh crap, this is my legacy. And the more deeper I got, I realized it was as much mine as it was yours, but it was like totally different. And that there's kind of a responsibility and a place that I have to begin to figure out how to occupy, and we have to figure out how to occupy. But I just wanted you to know that, as you say, that it wasn't it's my history as well, and it's really, you know.
Yeah, I want to touch on how you said kind of like you felt like you were uncomfortable walking into a space that felt like ours. I just like feel like for a lot of black people, just walking through the world is like walking in a space that doesn't feel like ours. So you know what I'm saying? Um, so just like the idea of how you felt in the museum is a smidge of how some people feel walking through the world.